So now, Michael, I cannot see any of the participants or anybody.
Right.
So,
Karen and I, or Karen and Tia, will keep track of questions and participants for you.
okay, so how many folks we got on the call so far, Mike?
Oh my God. So you asked me. Let me see here. You put pressure on me here. A whole bunch.
23.
23.
23. Okay, so and who's recording, Tia or Karen?
I'm recording. Karen.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started, folks. Good morning. Welcome to session 2 of the 2021 FDOT District 5 virtual workshop. For those that have participated in session 1, thank you for coming back. And for those that are participating today for the first time, we appreciate you joining us today. And lastly, thank you all for your willingness to adjust your schedules to work around Elsa as she made her way across Florida last week and we had to reschedule. COVID has changed our lives in so many ways, but we've all adjusted and found other ways to deal with what life has thrown at us. We've adapted and in many ways developed new skill sets as a result of it. From a scenic highway perspective, our past district workshops have always been in person. We've eaten, learned, we've mingled, and we've celebrated this unique DOT program together. These are some of the same experiences that we will enjoy today, just in a virtual setting. It would have been easy and probably understandable to just delay the workshop until better days ahead, but it's important for us to keep the momentum, to share information and remind ourselves that we're all in this together in the same boat. While face-to-face workshops are the perfect opportunity to interact with your fellow Byway community members, we hope that this series of virtual workshops will be informative, educational, fun, and address the topics that are important to the Byway community. We encourage that you still interact with others today on the call, ask questions, engage, and take advantage of this opportunity to learn. Since sitting at a computer for 8 hours straight on a virtual setting would be overwhelming, we've developed a series of 2-hour virtual workshop sessions spread over a 5-month period. And we titled the workshop series, Focused on the 5 E's for Byway Success. And as you can see on the slide, our E's include engage, explore, environment, enhance, and excellence. So, but please note that all our sessions are now being scheduled at the lunchtime sessions. Feedback received from the last one seemed to indicate that Byway community preferred to have these during the day rather than in the evening, and participation was real low in the evening. So we've sent out some reminders for rescheduled notices. As we move forward, we'll send some more. During each of our remaining sessions, we'll look at one of the 5 E's and its relationship to the Byway community. And while the details for each session have yet to be finalized, these 5 E's serve as a reminder of the quality of the Florida Scenic Highway program and the values our volunteers strive for with what they do. In our first session, we discussed engagement. We looked at the program's history of engagement and ways to recruit volunteers and leaders to carry out the organization into the future. Our top 10 list at the end of the session will focus engage. Okay, we need everybody to mute their microphones, please. For today's session, we'll focus on exploration. We hope to engage you and your organization to explore options and learn from each other's experiences so that you're armed with the tools to help you accomplish your mission. We do value your time, so we've tried to keep each session short but informative, value-added, and importantly, fun. So even virtual workshops have housekeeping reminders. Ours is very, very simple. Please be courteous. Mute your microphone when presentations are underway. Raise your virtual hand if you have a question, And please make sure to introduce yourself when you speak, because not everybody knows who you are. So to start, Karen will go ahead and mute everybody just so we don't have any interruptions and to manage background noise. We've learned from past experiences that turning your camera off reduces bandwidth, and so the presentations will flow a little better. So the choice is yours, but if you turn your cameras off, you'll find you'll have less static and fluctuations. All the sessions will be recorded and posted on the dedicated Central Florida Scenic Byways YouTube channel. And when Karen gets a moment, she'll put that in the chat box so you can access it later. So sadly, there are drawbacks to virtual meetings. While our tradition of morning coffee and bagels, our Publix box lunches and afternoon cake are not in the cards this year, we have provided you some virtual reminders of what we're missing and a promise that next year we'll have plenty of the real stuff. So lastly, enjoy yourself, sit back and relax, get your coffee. It's been a long 18 months. Y'all have worked hard at being volunteers. We couldn't do any of this without you. So today, have fun and relax. And like the session theme says, keep an open mind and explore the possibilities. So we're going to start with the general roll call of participants that are with us today. But I want to start today with Dean Stoddard. So Dean, go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. This is Dean Stoddard. I am a registered landscape architect in the state of Florida. I've been in Florida for probably 25 years or 26, might be 27. I'm not sure anymore. But I first came to Florida and I lived in Orlando working in the theme park kind of industry. I have been all over the state. I've lived in Orlando, I've lived in Tampa, Key West, and now I live in Tallahassee. So in all those various areas, my wife and I have had a we enjoy traveling the area and seeing the historic areas in those regions where we lived. And because of that, you know, I got a pretty good appreciation for all the different history that Florida has throughout the entire state. And it's pretty broad. There's a lot of history in Florida. I also worked for the State Parks Department. I worked with them for about 6 years. That took me throughout the state through many of the state parks that we have in the state, which is also a pretty educational experience. Really great people in the state park system. I worked for the FWC for 5 years, and another great group of people there. I worked throughout the state from Pensacola pretty much through West Palm Beach in that area with them, and many places in between. My first day here with the FDOT was May 24th. So I'm on my 8th week now, and I'm still kind of understanding the role that I'm playing. I have a really good idea of what that role is, but you know, as 8th week, I'm still learning. And what else can I tell you? I just traveled to Orlando this past weekend, and I rode on this part of the Scenic Sumter Heritage Byway. So I found myself looking around and picking out, oh, here's where I am in the state, and here's a byway. I found myself doing that far more often than I ever have. Anyway, that's a little bit of who I am, and I'm really glad to be here.
Perfect, Dean. Thank you. And Dean has stepped into the role of Jeff Castor, who is, so Dean is now the state scenic highway coordinator. And so we'll be working with him very, very closely. Thank you, Dean. I love your background. Oh,
there it is.
That's the Bach Towers?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I was there actually just a couple of weeks ago with my mother. It's very, very pretty.
As I go along, I like to throw a different photograph up of something unique in the state. And that'll be my trademark from here on out, I think.
Well, good. I like that trademark. So we will move forward. Karen, go ahead and we'll start the roll call. And if everybody could please state their name and who they represent.
Yeah, okay, so first up I have, and you'll have to unmute yourselves, by the way, because I you all. But I have an 850 number at the top of my list.
This is David Todd with Visit Florida.
Okay, and I have Angie, who it says on hold right now, so I don't know if Angie can hear. So then I have, yeah. Janice.
Good morning. I'm Janice Charles, and I'm with the DOT in District 2. Here, I'll turn my camera on. And Debbie Miller, and Debbie is the District Scenic Highway Coordinator, and she's on her final leg of retirement. And then I'll be taking over for her when she leaves. So.
Excellent. Welcome.
Georgia.
Hello, it's Georgia Turner. I'm the director of the West Volusia Tourism Advertising Authority, board member of the River of Lakes, and also involved with Florida Black Bear Scenic Byway. Thanks for having me.
Right. Thanks, Georgia. Greg?
Greg Gensheimer, Green Mountain Scenic Byway.
Heather?
Hi there, Heather Sears. I'm the new Tourism and Events Coordinator with the Sebastian River Area Chamber of Commerce. And I remember first learning about you guys when I worked at the Marine Resources Council years and years ago. So I'm very excited to be a part of this group again.
Wonderful.
Paul?
Good morning. Paul Hires with the Production Support Office here at FDOT. So the Scenic Highway program is within my office, so I'm sitting in today.
Okay, Joyce? Joyce, you're muted.
She's afraid that parrot's going to say something in her backyard.
I think so. Kate?
Kate Haig with the Northeast Florida Regional Council and A1A Ocean Islands Trail.
Marcia?
Hi, I'm Marcia Cantrell. I'm with the Indian River National Scenic Byway. I'm retired from Brevard County Board of County Commissioners.
That if they ran out.
Matthew?
Hi, good morning. I'm Matt Romanek. I'm the Vice Chair of the Halifax Heritage Scenic Byway and Trails and private practice plaintiff's lawyer in Daytona.
Maite?
Hi, everyone. I'm with District 6. I'm here on behalf of Kevin Schott, the district landscape architect. He's actually out of town for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to be sitting in, and I'll probably be joining you guys from here on out on your future meetings.
Deborah?
Good morning, all. I'm Deborah Miller. I am the District Scenic Highway Coordinator for District 2, who will be leaving it in the capable hands of Janice Charles. But I just wanted to say a shout out to Claudia. Thank you for doing this. This is a wonderful program. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Deb.
Nancy Duke?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Nancy Duke from Daytona State College. I'm also chair of Heritage Crossroads, and I will be speaking with you today on service learning. Thank you.
Nancy Galdo?
Hello, Nancy Galdo here. I'm on the board of the Ormond Scenic Loop and Trail.
Nicholas?
Nick Sanzone, City of Satellite Beach. I am the Indian River Lagoon National Scenic Byway Chair.
Michael?
Good morning, this is Mike Pelosi. I'm with Atkins Engineering, and we are consultant support to many of the byways that are on the call today.
Daryl?
Everyone, good morning. Daryl Richard, District 1 Scenic Highway Coordinator and also District Landscape Architect. Really appreciate District 5 and these shows on our events. District 5, very enjoyable. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Daryl.
Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Slaughterback. I'm with Kimley Horn, and I'm on the call for District 3 Scenic Highway.
Dean? I know you gave your intro already.
Yeah, I gave my intro. I'm Dean. With the FDOT, I am the State Transportation Landscape Architect.
Victoria?
Sorry, Victoria Mancini. I am representing Keith.
Tia?
Keith and Associates. I'm a landscape architect with Keith.
Okay, thank you. Tia is next attendee.
Oh, thank you.
Hi guys, I'm with Atkins and I'll be presenting later on volunteering.
And Caitlin.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kate Witness. I'm with Kimley Horn, also on for District 3, but unfortunately I have to leave a little early today, so Lindsay's going to help me take notes and get the information out to the highways up here.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, everyone. Was there anybody that I missed who would like to introduce themselves?
Okay, well, thank you, Karen, and thank you, everybody, for being here today with us. So how many folks do we have on the line right now?
We have 25.
Excellent. Well, we had about 50 participants in session 1, and 25 is a real good number for session 2. So now we've got introductions completed. Let's take a look at today's agenda. Our first presentation will look at one of the more creative ways that a byway has found to serve its community and accomplish its mission, and at the same time developing a service learning program. Our second presentation is on volunteer management. We'll look at several case studies of successful byway partner volunteer programs, plus an example of one that was not as successful. You'll see commonalities between successful and less successful organizations. We hope you'll learn from each of these case studies presented today, and that'll be from Tia. And our last technical presentation will be presented by presented by Mike Pelosi on a very successful social media campaign presented by the Heritage Crossroads Byway. And lastly, from the David Letterman Show, we'll be offering Claudia's top 10 list. We hope you'll find it entertaining while offering some value-added takeaways for everyone on the call. My goal today is to be complete with session 2 by 1 p.m. So if anybody has any questions, just jump out. If there are no questions, we'll move on to the next E. Let's explore.
We want to make sure Nancy's not on mute.
I've just unmuted myself.
There you go.
Good morning, everybody. As the title states, I'm going to be talking about engaging the youth of the community as a part of what we're doing with Heritage Crossroads. And it's a combination of the needs for Heritage Crossroads, because as I'm sure most of you are finding out yourselves, sometimes our organizations, we tend to age pretty quickly, and we need to bring in young people. And what a better way than to bring in high school students, college students, to do some of the legwork and programs that we want to do, but may not have all the volunteers, and at the same time get them excited about their community, maybe in ways that they themselves haven't even considered. All right, Tia, if you can change slide. Thank you. So welcome to Heritage Crossroads, Heritage Highway. We are designated as the first Heritage Highway in 2008. We are 98 miles long, pretty twisted road there, but we make it. Centered in Bunnell and Flagler County, and if you are like me and grew up in Florida and wondered, well, is there actually something between Daytona Beach and St. Augustine? Yes, Flagler County, filled with a lot of good history. And as you note, some of our key partners are the Florida Ag Museum, which is growing by leaps and bounds, our Flagler Historical Society, and of course, one of the many branches for Daytona State College. Change slide. So our mission statement, mission of the Heritage Crossroads Byway organization is to highlight the historic resources of Florida's first heritage highway by promoting, enhancing, and preserving the unique character of these resources and their place in Florida history. Please note that in Flagler County, you not only have evidence of ancient Native Americans in this area, you have colonial sites, you have sites relevant to the Second Seminole Indian War, the Civil War, and of course more modern 21st century agricultural history as well. So it's quite a fascinating area that is very untapped in all that it can achieve. So through education and interpretation, we will enhance the experience of visitors and the community's appreciation of the region's heritage. Part of our values, appreciation for the history of Flagler County, building a vibrant local economy, because certainly heritage sites, historical sites, they will bring in people, and that will just bring in more money to the local region. Respect for the founding families of the region, all who have quite an interesting history. Desire to ensure the future generations understand their roots, which I think is what all of our areas should be doing to some extent, to let people understand, especially here in Florida, the amazing development of this state. Even in the last 50 years, it certainly has changed. Appreciation for the balance between community, heritage, the natural beauty of the region, and growth, and maintaining strong partnerships with other community advocacy groups having similar interests. I know here in Flagler County, we have quite a few different historical, heritage-oriented groups, and we do try to work together to promote the heritage of the entire county. Next slide. Some of the goals that we focus on, particularly goal 4 in regards to our topic for today, increase awareness of our unique regional history and appreciation for our rich environment through development and presentation of our corridor story to residents and tourists. So we want to make certain that for a number of these young people who may have simply moved in as children, to let them have a connection and help them to understand that this is a very unique area. Florida is definitely not like the rest of the South, and we want to promote that and let them see the struggles, but the grand achievements that have been made in this state. Next. So how do we do that? Well, in part, we do it through my official day job, which is Associate Professor of History at Daytona State College. And Daytona State has been good enough to allow my students to help out in all these different programs that we participate in. So just a little bit about Daytona State College, which has certainly grown quite a bit over the last decade or so. We are part of the Florida college system, part of the 28 colleges in the state. We're based in Daytona Beach, but we do have 6 campuses. So for those of you in other parts of District 5 thinking, well, how can I get student volunteers? We probably have a campus near you. So we have, of course, our Flagler Palm Coast campus. We have our Advanced Technology College, of course, the main campus on Daytona Beach, our New Smyrna campus, our DeLand campus, and our Deltona campus. The Deltona one, by the way, if your group is near that area, that one is starting to grow by leaps and bounds. So the average total of 26,000 students, and we are looking for ways to get them to engage with the community. We embrace excellence and diversity. We foster innovation to enhance teaching and learning, and part of that comes from programs to engage community enrichment. Next slide. So we teach beyond the borders with service learning. Now, service learning's been around in some form or another for many years, but it's now at a point where colleges are better defining the concept of service learning. So for Daytona State, we define it as reciprocal teaching and learning strategy that allows students to serve their college, their local and global communities through meaningful civic engagement integrated with instruction and reflection. So what that means is that typically with service learning, students are given a project, and that project has them engaging in some way with perhaps a bit of research, a bit of writing, but also getting out into the community and helping to provide solutions to problems. It may be something as simple as needing to create an exhibit on a topic that hasn't been really promoted before in the community, or helping to volunteer and participate in a festival. Yeah, these kids love to do this kind of stuff. It's easy for them, and for a number of them, they are participating in events that, yes, they've lived in the community all their lives, but no, they're not engaged with the community. Now they get engaged through these events. They love their community. They start to get more involved. So service learning enhances social skills, analytical ability, civic and ethical responsibility, self-efficacy, and career development. Next slide. And as I mentioned before, we are connected with, of course, the college, Florida Ag Museum, Flagler County Historical Society, and this helps us get our projects done. And what is so great about young people is that you can propose, the most out-of-the-box project, and these kids are for it. If you have a group that maybe isn't as technologically advanced, the students are for it because they're your tech people these days. Really, anything you can think of, partner with students. They will help you get it achieved. Next slide. So goals for my students as part of the youth engagement program. They get school credit. Yeah, they're doing a paper. They got to do the paper in order to achieve a good grade. Increase respect and understanding of local history. As I said before, I've had students who may have gone to one of our parks here in Flagler County. For instance, we have Princess Place Preserve. Beautiful place. Everybody should come and see it. Some of these students may have been out there as a child, but for whatever reason, parents didn't keep taking them back. They didn't know the whole history. They go out there now. They participate in a program. As students will say, hey, this is kind of cool. Maybe I'll come back. And they start to come back and they start to want to work more and work to keep up the area. They do research. They do teamwork. They do public interaction experience. They are engaging with senior citizens that in any other situation, they probably wouldn't have done that. But now they start to talk to these people. They find out how fascinating these people are. It's always fun to get a 16-year-old and a 65-year-old or 75-year-old or even 95-year-old in a room and watch them interact. I mean, that's been one of the high points of this program. Next slide. So with all that in mind, let me tell you some of the things that we've done over the years. And again, I do encourage you, think outside the box. And if you've got an idea and are thinking, well, it's kind of a vague concept, how can I really shape this? Ask these kids, they will help you. So a couple of case studies to just give you a sense of what you can do. In both 2015 and 2016, Heritage Crossroads participated in the annual Creekside Festival. Did I have a question? Forgive me, I thought I heard somebody. They participated in the annual Creekside Festival. And the Creekside Festival is a huge event here in Flagler County with a number of different booths, people talking about history, nature, politics, if it's that particular year. And so in 2015, DSC students researched the history of the founding families of Flagler County. So we're talking about everybody from the DuPonts, the Deans, the Moody's. They had to go to the annex building for Flagler Historical Society. They had to talk to the local historians. They had to look at primary documentation and then put together a huge exhibit that was placed in what is called the Hunting Lodge out at Princess Place, where the Creekside Festival was. And so as we, Heritage Crossroads, we were in charge of giving tours of the Hunting Lodge. As people came in, they got to see these exhibits and they got to talk to the students. And of course, for families who are longtime families here in Flagler County, you could tell just how excited they were to ask questions of these young people and to be able to tell these young people their own stories and to have the young people comment, oh yes, we heard about such and such. And just the smiles that were on everyone's face was just fantastic. The following year, 2016, the students researched several of the resources along the byway to present to the public. So everything from the Little Red Schoolhouse, to Beulah Plantation, to the Ag Museum itself, and they gave different information to the public. As I have here, students served as docents in training, also to give tours of the Hunting Lodge. And the atmosphere was so electric that day that really for these students who may not have been the most attentive in a classroom, by midday, you're asking them, will you please help me do such and such and such and such? Oh, yes, Dr. Duke. Oh, my God, this is so great. I mean, they were fascinated by everything. And so it was a high point and a grand achievement on all sides. Next slide. A couple of pictures here. You see one that Mike Pelosi and I loved to always show of a girl named Victoria or Tori presenting the Little Red Schoolhouse. You can just tell the excitement there. And she did have genuine excitement. Anything I needed that day, she was right there ready to help out. These kids had never heard of things like the Little Red Schoolhouse. The other two you see from 2015, the Moody family, the Dean family. One of the members of the Dean family there, Cisco, pointing to his name, quite happy to see all that information. Next slide. History Day at Bulow Plantation Historic Ruins Park, 2017. This was in conjunction with the Friends of Tahoka Basin and Bulow Historic Ruins Park group. Students developed exhibits and introduced fourth graders from Belterre Elementary School to local history. Next slide. Now, this day was kind of a process event because there was inspiration from a previous event simply called Family Fun Day out at Bulow, in which I had a group of students do exhibits to be able to teach the public on the history of Bulow, and not just the history of Bulow Plantation, but the history of rice production, the history of the sugar production at the sugar mill that had been out there. The ruins are what's left. The history of slavery in Florida, which was transformed very much so from history of slavery under Spain, history of slavery under England, and then history of slavery under the United States. These kids put quite a lot in there, and was able to set up stations where you could walk around Bulow ruins and hear the progressive history of the site. Well, there wasn't that many in attendance that particular day, but we decided that we would still take it one step further. And with the Friends of Tahoka, we contacted and got an entire grade, not just one class, but an entire grade of fourth graders out there several months later, over 200 students. And we set up these exhibition stations once more. Next slide. And they began to, different set of students this time, they began to tell the story once more to these students. They also did such things as to plant sugarcane and learn about indigo production. We gave them ranger books from the state park system. And again, kids, dual enrolled kids, 16, 17-year-old students who had never thought, oh, okay, I have to do this for a grade. Okay, I'll go out there and do this for a grade. Trust me, they were floating on air at the end of the day when the students left, because they connected with the students. They found creative ways to make the history fun for the 9-year-olds. And I think in making it fun for the 9-year-olds, they found it fun for themselves as well. So some of those words we've got on that slide, very important. Respect, respect for the history, respect for the land. Experience, to make whatever your program is an experience, an interactive experience for kids to enjoy. And create meaningful civic engagement to understand that these areas need protecting, they need promoting. They need people to come and learn from them. And these young people definitely helped in that regard. Next slide. Now, of course, in this last year with COVID, because of the masking, because of social distancing, we couldn't get out and do the hands-on programs as we would have liked to have. So I concentrated more on social media, and these kids will tell you what works, what doesn't work. In the past, I have had students put together some newsletters for Heritage Crossroads. We have an Instagram account. My students have told me this past spring, if you want to get young people, get on TikTok. So that's for the little bit of summer that's left. I got to learn TikTok, but I'm sure they'll teach me as well. Facebook videos, let them go to the various sites on your highway and give their own spin to those sites. Let them be creative. And podcast. It's a learning process with podcasts, but I'm going to try that again as well. These are things that students listen to and things that young people listen to. So if you can catch somebody who's just wanting to hear a local podcast, try it out. And you can see a picture of one of our members, James Fisk, who we did this early on in COVID. Both of us masked at the annex building, but he managed to give us a few bits of good information that we put on videos for Facebook, and it was successful. So be creative, definitely. Next slide. And I think our most successful venture, I wanted one semester, one class. I told students, if you are an artist, if you love to creatively write, I want you to come into a group and write a children's book. Now, the instructions was simply thinking between first grade and fourth grade, perhaps. Be creative. If you've got brothers and sisters who are younger, ask their opinion. And then I pretty much said, go for it. And so 4 of the most quiet girls you would ever want in a classroom put together one of the most entertaining little booklets. And it's a group of animals that show the Heritage Highway and show the different sites. And Mike saw it, was thrilled about it. We have eventually had it printed not only in English but in Spanish. And I think later on, if today's program has enough time, they'll play a little YouTube video of a very special teacher on the west coast of Florida reading the booklet at the river's edge to her students. Next slide. So, lessons learned thus far, and I say thus far because I love to put these programs together now for my students to engage in. Students do gain research experience because for our students, if they're looking at, say, what happened here in Flagler County at the turn of the century, they're looking at primary documents. They're trying to make those connections between the past and the present. They're interacting with local historians. Give your local historians the opportunity to talk to students, to express their wealth of knowledge. You'll be amazed how fascinated the kids will become. They get to exercise their technical skills. I'm certainly not a podcaster, for example, but I said to students, all right, I need a group of you who will actually put your other classmates to record them and put them into an official podcast. Can you do it? A couple of students said, we're not quite sure, but we're willing to give it a go. That was all I needed, and they did pretty well with it. Exercise personal creativity. Yeah, for a lot of students, they don't want to do the same old type of assignment. They really do want to have a bit of free reign, and it is amazing what they'll come up with. As a result, they're going to earn an appreciation of their community's development, the important leaders in that growth. Yeah, I think now for some of my students, they still may not have as great of a knowledge of history as I would like for them to, but they'll know names. Names will prick up in their minds now, and they'll know exactly, oh yeah, it was the Moody's. Oh yes, this is why, you know, we have this thing called DuPont. For Heritage Crossroads and our partners, we get volunteers. You know, I love to be able to say to some of our partners, you got a program, you need some students, let me connect you with those students. We connect well with young families because of the youth engagement. It's been fun at times to be able to talk to the parents of some of these kids who are like, yeah, they really enjoyed that assignment because they were able to get out into the community. And they gain new ideas about preserving local culture, presenting it to the community. One thing I've also asked my students every time they finish a paper, particularly on a historical site in the community, for example, I ask them, how do we better promote this? What would you do? Give me some of your ideas. And then I pass on those ideas to that particular group. And it helps to really bring your groups into the modern age, into the 21st century. Slide, next slide. So how do you get started? Explore your options. Many colleges now have service learning committees. There is a National Service Learning Organization that colleges connect with. Colleges will welcome new ideas and events. Of course, I've been talking about history and heritage, but if you're an organization that, let's say, is more nature-based, more science-based, we have faculty who are on our service learning committee that would be more than happy to help you put together your program. At all of these campuses, we have faculty. So if you're interested, feel free to email me. I'll hook you up with the right people. We dialogue with college students, seek out their suggestions for programs to promote your highway. You know, sit down with them. Have a little pizza party with them. Kids love pizza. Yeah. Ask them or tell them about your highway. Tell them about the various sites. Ask them how they might promote it for you. The third part, very important. Be willing to have a service learning idea, not be 100% the first time out. Don't expect perfection. Try out an idea. Know that it might take 2 or 3 times before the outcome is what you want. You learn much from each attempt. With a small amount of failure, you learn to say, okay, well, we did this part right. We can change this. And again, ask your students. Ask the students, What would they change? You'll get better each and every time. Next slide. Some targeted projects. Sometimes if you want to get started but just want to start with something small, ask a faculty member if they can have students do work for you for extra credit. Some examples here: park cleanup. Yeah, we always need, workers for that. Extra volunteers to help with the fundraiser event. Have students conduct research for your group. Have students look at your website and give their suggestions. Believe me, there are some of these students who will be very direct with you on what your website needs to look like, how it will connect with them. Next slide. Some additional suggestions, and these are things that I'm going to be myself working on, trying to expand some of the concepts that we've been engaging with in the last few years. One thing that some of my African American students have pointed out, help preserve local African American cemeteries. Yeah, that's one part of Florida's history that still needs to be fully understood and promoted. And the sad part is, if you know a bit about African American cemeteries here in Florida, some of them have been destroyed over the years. Some of them are in a bit of disarray. Connect with your local Black churches. See if they need some help in helping to preserve the cemeteries. Go out there and document who's there, who's buried in those cemeteries. You may be surprised at the important people you'll find in these cemeteries. Create a teen blog of local sites along your byway to pull in younger supporters. Yeah, let them blog about what the sites are like and what their viewpoint is, what they like, what they don't like. You'll be surprised, and you may be very surprised as to who they get into to like their blog and to comment. Conduct oral histories with local figures and members of the founding families along your byway. This is something that we definitely need to do more of to preserve our local history. Develop children's brochures for local historical sites. And I say historical sites, but any site. Because when families are going, doing a little bit of local vacationing, the kids want something to see. They want something to be handed to them. Make it colorful, make it interesting. Propose new kiosks for sites not promoted. Again, I'll go back to women's history, African American history. There are sites in District 5 that need to be better promoted. Look at those possible kiosks that they can help you put together. Learn about historical reenactment. A lot of that's done in this area. Those historical reenactors are getting older. They need young people. Get the students involved with that. Next slide. So overall, that is what we're doing here in Flagler County. And it's an exciting time for us. I hope I have shared some of that excitement with you. And I'm open for any questions that you may have.
Hey, Nancy, this is Karen. Great presentation. There were a few questions that were emailed to me, and I put them in the chat here. So the first question is, my byway is outside of District 5. Do you know of other colleges in the state that have similar programs to the service learning?
Very much so. In fact, probably if you'll just simply go on that college's website and in the general search engine, type in service learning, I bet there's a committee that you can get in contact with.
Okay, thank you. And what would be my first couple of steps to get started with service learning for my byway?
Well, the first thing to do is, if you want to partner with a college, see if they've got a committee, If you're in District 5 and want to join up with Daytona State, please, please, please feel free to email me. I'll be more than happy to connect you with the right person, whether it's history. Keep in mind for Daytona State, we have a business program, education program, science program. There's a lot of our faculty who are very excited, and I can get you connected with it. But the main thing is simply get started. Start small, maybe something that is more of a extra credit assignment than a big program. But once you get your foot in the door, then ask and work with a faculty member. See what they might propose as well.
And I know there's dual enrollment students, but is there an opportunity to use this type of program through the Bright Futures Scholarship for high school students?
Very much so. In fact, quite a few of my dual enrolled students who participate in a service learning project, they hand me their papers to sign off for the hours, and those hours do go to Bright Futures.
And since you've done this for several years, what would you say the most fun project is that you've done with your students?
Oh, I think definitely it's got to be the Creekside Festival, because they did just have such excitement about what they were doing out there, and learning that history was great. But also with the teaching the fourth graders out at Bulow, you know, it's fun with any of these projects, because as I was saying before, you'll have students who are sitting in a classroom while you're lecturing, and they're making some connections, but you can see it's not always, you know, unfortunately, history has never always been properly taught.
Right.
But once they're out there and interacting and they're talking to people, it's just so exciting to see them get excited. And it just makes what could be a very exhausting day, depending on the event, it just makes it so worthwhile.
Agreed. Thank you, Nancy. Those are all the questions that I see in the chat.
Nancy, what a fabulous, fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. Your service learning program, just, I find it so intriguing, and it's such a worthwhile program. And I hope some of the other byways jump on and take advantage of the local institutions near them, and also plug into that. So thank you very much, Nancy.
Thank you, Claudia. And again, if anybody has any questions after this, please feel free to email me. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. So right now we're going to move into the next presentation, Volunteer Management by Ms. Tia Ware. Thank you, Tia.
Thanks, Claudia. Hi, guys. I'm Tia, and I'm here to talk about the volunteers and what you can do to help your Byway recruit. So good morning. We all know a successful Byway needs funding, sustainability, and volunteers. We know that finding volunteers is a challenge. We see it in the annual reports, we see it in attendance at the Byway meetings, and we've discussed it at past workshops, including the session 1 of this year's virtual workshop. Today, we'll look into building strong, sustainable Byway organizations with volunteers. So let's explore these issues. We know what we want and don't want out of volunteers, but how do we get it? How are other organizations outside the Scenic Highway program recruiting and managing volunteers? We look at 3 highly successful non-Byway organizations around the state that are volunteer-based and explored the topics with them. We talked to 3 members of our Byway partners, Karen Cloud, Nancy Galdo, and Lisa Roberts, who've been part of these example volunteer organizations outside their Scenic Highway responsibilities, and asked them questions that hit 3 important topics. How do you locate volunteers? How are they integrated into your organizations? How do you maintain financial sustainability? We also want to go through an organization that has not been so successful and talked with a nonprofit organization that recently disbanded. In the following slides, we'll summarize what examples to follow and what to stay away from. So these are the questions we asked that may be familiar to you all. How do you grow your organization? How is your organization structured? What organizational tools do you use? How do you market your organization? What works and what has not worked? What is your elevator speech? How do you raise money? And how do you minimize burnout? For our first interviewee, we talked to Karen Cloud. Karen is the volunteer coordinator for the Dade Battlefield Society in Sumter County. The society is the volunteer support arm of the Dade Battlefield Historic State Park. The society and park are founding members of the Scenic Sumter Heritage Byway organization. As you can see, Karen has a long history in Sumter County, retiring as an educator in the Sumter school system and now as a volunteer with the society. Karen is so good at what she does that she was named Adult Volunteer of the Year for the Visitor Service for the entire park service several years ago. You can see that her focus on youth has been constant throughout her career, starting as an educator in the Sumter school system and then as the youth coordinator for the Dade Battlefield Society. Karen's mix of public service experience, reputation as a leader, and passion for what she does made her the perfect candidate for our interview. We asked Karen, how do you grow your organization? And she explained, everything takes time. The community needs to know who you are. We get 12 to 50 plus volunteer students each year. We stress flexibility. Students can volunteer based on their time available. We stress to them that it's okay to do as little or as much as they want/need. It's a constant recruitment process, and a recruiter must show passion to anyone seeking volunteer opportunities. How do you market your organization? Schools, 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 and teachers, teachers, teachers. Karen says that she goes to the students. She doesn't wait for them to come to her, and she recruits. They attend Club Rush, go to field trips, whatever the extra effort takes to recruit more volunteers. What is your elevator speech? When asked the question about the society's elevator speech, she first outlined their mission statement that contained 3 components: support, preservation/conservation, and public awareness. While the statement is passionate and focused, Karen explained all she needs to say to potential volunteers is, need volunteer hours? How do you minimize burnout? It's better to burn out than to rest, Karen says. I tell the students to set your goals to how many hours you can do without taking away from enjoying your high school life. In the same breath, I constantly thank them and tell them that by helping others and giving themselves, they truly give. I lead by example. They know that I love volunteering and that I am making a difference in the lives of others. But the most important technique to attracting young volunteers is I feed them. Nancy Galdo was our second interviewee. Nancy is currently recovering from a broken ankle, but was excited to discuss the success of the Broward Shell Club that she has been a longtime member of. Nancy now lives in Ormond Beach and is on the board of the Ormond Scenic Loop and Trail Scenic Highway, but still is engaged with her Shell Club in South Florida. The club's 4-fold increase in membership over a recent several-year period was not only good for the club, but brought them statewide attention among other Shell clubs for their volunteer base and financial strength. While shell collecting and researching might not be everyone's cup of tea, Nancy and the other club members show a passion for their hobby that draws others wanting to be part of the fun. So, what did Nancy have to say when we asked her about building a successful organization? We asked her, how do you grow your organization? And she replied, keep it fun and interesting. Their club meetings that have interesting presenters, field trips, even raffles as part of their meetings to stir things up a bit and develop some energy. How do you market your organization? What works? Here, Nancy talked about publicity. The outside world must know about you and who you are. Nancy didn't say this directly, but many of their volunteers are elderly, and you can see from the club's marketing strategy the emphasis that they've placed on newspaper advertisements, written/published articles to the local newspaper on their events. While they also have a wonderful website, they know who their audience is, and they make it easy for future volunteers to be introduced to the club and its activities. How do you raise money? When we asked Nancy how the Shell Club raises money, she said their club events were free. They found that visitors are appreciative of a free event, and more often than not, they became a member of the club or leave a donation as they depart from the event. What is the elevator speech? Like Karen Cloud's comments, the Broward Shell Club doesn't have an elevator speech per se. Presented on this slide is the club's mission statement. But if you get caught in an elevator with Nancy, guaranteed you'll hear the words advancement, education, conservation, and preservation stated clearly and without hesitation when introducing the organization. Lisa Roberts and the Wildflower Foundation are known to many on this call. Lisa recently conducted a roadside chat for our Byway partners and the Wildflower Foundation partners with many of our Byway partners. Lisa has led the foundation for 10+ years and created a volunteer advocacy organization that is second to none in Florida. Her passion for wildflowers and pollinators is contagious. While her expectations for performance are high, her compassion and patience for volunteers and the community is unparalleled. Sadly, Lisa is about to move on to other opportunities, but she leaves behind an organization that is structured for success, financially sound, and highly regarded in the environmental community. Here's how Lisa responded to several of our interview questions. What is your elevator speech? When asked about her elevator speech, Lisa indicated that it's really the foundation's mission statement. It's short, it's focused, and explains the foundation in every situation. How do you raise money? The Wildflower Foundation is well positioned to raise funds for priority projects. The Wildflower license plate is one of the most popular of any available in Florida. You can see from the pie chart on the slide, donations including tag fees make up the bulk of the foundation's yearly revenue. So how do you minimize burnout? We asked Lisa about volunteer burnout, and her response clearly reflects her responsibilities. Encouraging a balance in life for her volunteers goes a long way in keeping volunteers refreshed and motivated. She also emphasized that being strategic in what the foundation does is important. She never bites off more than what her organization is capable of doing. How do you grow your organization? Lastly, we asked Lisa, how does a successful organization grow? It boils down to a couple of important concepts. Know who your audience is and engage them. Recognize your team members and make sure everyone sees your passion. Now that we've looked at several success stories of organizations with a strong volunteer base and passion for what they do, let's take a look at an organization that still has passion, but wore down over time and recently closed their doors as an advocacy organization. While this organization was willing to offer thoughts on their fall, they asked we do not share their name. The name isn't important, but the lessons learned are. We can learn as much from those that struggle as from those that have had success. Let's explore what this organization leader had to say about the volunteers, missions, organizational sustainability, and lessons learned. As you can see from the organizational profile, this nonprofit has 20+ years of success as an advocate for their passion. Like many groups, they started with many volunteers. Over time, those numbers dwindled. Finding leaders became a challenge, and they had no plan for the future. How do you grow your organization? When asked the question about growing an organization, we got feedback that reflected success and struggle. The lack of volunteers has been the struggle for many years and a major reason why the organization shut down. In the past, their big events created interest in the community, and the people wanted the volunteers because they had so much fun at these events. As many organizations have seen, people are hesitant to volunteer these days, especially if they don't know what's expected of them or the level of commitment that is needed. Our interviewee relayed one memorable instance of hardship when they had a relatively new board member appointed to be the group's financial bookkeeper. She ended up resigning the next week. Come to find out, the person did not feel comfortable taking on the role at that time. She was embarrassed to bring it up at the board meeting and quickly resigned. So lesson 1, don't assign people roles, let them volunteer. Lesson 2, new volunteers need lots of direction or a mentor. Lesson 3, have a private conversation with the volunteer to see if they would be willing to learn a new task, and if so, what do they need to feel comfortable doing it? Lastly, as we've all experienced, the pandemic has made it impossible to gain organizational traction in the traditional ways, using events to recruit volunteers and donations. The organization had no other backup plan. In hindsight, they noted they should have had other avenues to maintain organizational stability, and this contributed to their dismembership. How is your organization structured? What organizational tools do you use? Establishing committees with a capable leader and reporting on progress is number 1. We'll need to delegate tasks, recruit more volunteers, and hopefully develop leaders for the future. All in all, we need volunteers to create something great. How do you raise money? The response to this question was quite typical. While members and donations were the foundation of the group's operating budget, the group relied on larger events to build a strong financial position. Our golf tournament raised $10,000 per year, they said. The challenge became the planning and execution of these larger events. As the availability of volunteers and leaders declined, so did the events. So how do you minimize burnout? The answer to this question was a red flag to what ultimately happened to the organization. Unable to minimize the member burnout, the organization eventually dwindled down to a core of 4 volunteers, with 1 volunteer doing multiple tasks. The president of the group re-entered the workforce and found herself quickly overwhelmed in balancing all of the responsibilities on her plate, and the advocacy group floundered. With no one willing or prepared to take on the leadership role, they quickly realized that they couldn't complete their mission. They had no plan to carry the organization into the future. How do you market your organization? What works and what has not worked? The group was very successful at building awareness of their resources, but their efforts did little to build member base. For events, they found advertising in the local newspaper worked very well, along with posting on Facebook. But Facebook did not necessarily bring in a lot of local interest. The board drafted a letter and hand-delivered to local businesses, and that worked very well for getting donations. but it was hard to get board members who were willing to actually approach local businesses and do this type of marketing. Emailing the letters out was okay, very acceptable if they already had an established relationship with that business, but it was not good at all for any of the new members. As you listen to the results of these interviews, several themes come up. The term recognize appears over and over. Recognize your volunteers for being volunteers. Recognize them for what they do. Recognize that younger volunteers need to learn how to lead as older volunteers move on. Recognize that organization must have passionate members and a passion that sparks interest. Recognize that this is volunteer work. You have to have fun. All work and no play is a recipe for failure. Lastly, have a plan to be sustainable. You all have worked too hard to get to this point. So which one of you in the Byway community has a succession plan for your group, Scenic Highway or otherwise? We hope to have a future presentation on the development of succession plans as part of our session 3 for this workshop. Volunteerism is an ongoing challenge for all of our organizations, and as a result, we will continue to have this topic in the following workshops. There are many ways to learn more. The NSB Foundation website has several tools focused on volunteers. Claudia's YouTube channel houses the session 1 video, including presentations focused on volunteers. And for the latest or the last session of this 2021 workshop series, we hope to invite the past Gary Bay Log Award winners to be part of the roundtable discussion on multiple sustainability topics. This session will be the perfect opportunity for the audience to ask questions and learn from the Byway community leaders. I thank you for your time. I hope this presentation made you think. Before opening the microphone to questions, I would like to thank the people and everyone that was involved, all the interviewees. They are all leaders with a passion for what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia. We do have a couple of comments and some questions. One comment says that the Florida Scenic Highway program needs a license plate. And then the question is, have any byways created a succession plan? And are there any examples that we could review that we could distribute to the attendees?
I don't know of any that have a succession plan. Mike, have you been part of the succession plan for any of the other byways?
I don't know of any plans that were purely succession plans. I do know that JCPenney, and I don't know if Kathy Parrott's on the line, but Kathy and JCPenney working with Deb Miller in District 2 developed a discussion on succession planning. So they may be the most recent example of a group that came up with a plan.
It's actually a very timely conversation because every organization should think about a succession plan and put one together in the event that people do get burnout, just like the example that Tia spoke about.
Correct.
Yeah. Any other comments? Karen, do you see anything else?
No, just that we should be thinking about these types of plans.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something we'll be talking about more in the future. Tia, thank you so very much for your presentation. And again, thank you for the interviewees and the powerhouses, which are Karen Cloud, Nancy Galgo, and Lisa Roberts. These are true people that have really done some great things in their organizations, and we can all learn from them. So our final, well, not our final, our third speaker today is the ins and outs of social media. And speaking on that today is Mr. Michael Pelosi, grandfather of Palmer.
And my kids would be so impressed that suddenly I'm giving a presentation with all my gray hair and being a grandfather on Facebook. So kind of go along with me on this. And I'm actually sitting in for James Fisk. James is with the Flagler County Historical Society and also Heritage Crossroads, Heritage Byway. James, his wife was having a medical procedure today, so he couldn't join in to actually give this presentation. He's truly the expert, so I'm fearful of any questions that might come up. But with that said, we'll move along. As I said, James Fisk is the true presenter, and among his duties with those two byways, with that byway and the Historical Society in Flagler County, he serves as the social media coordinator for those two organizations. And today's focus, James's focus, is on nonprofits and dealing with social media, and particularly Facebook as a marketing tool. So we will proceed, I think. So there's my first test. Let me do this. Go. Whoops. There we go. Okay. So Nancy Duke provided a brief introduction to the Heritage Crossroads Heritage Highways organization as part of her presentation a little bit earlier. And I'll do the same quickly for the Flagler County Historical Society. On this slide, I've provided the Historical Society's mission statement at the top, and the Byway organization, Heritage Crossroads in this case, Heritage Crossroads mission statement at the bottom. While there are similarities between these two mission statements, the ultimate goal of this partnership is preservation of Flagler County's rich history and heritage, and you certainly heard that from Nancy in her talk also. Here's a little bit more background on the Historical Society. Like many of the Byway organizations represented in this call today, the Society is a nonprofit, first being chartered in 1983. The Society has a very passionate membership, and they're located in a region of the state with history that goes back well before the U.S. was born as a country, and Florida as a state. Recently, the Society and its partners celebrated both the 100-year anniversary of the establishment of Flagler County and also the 100-year anniversary of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, giving women the right to vote. Included in this slide are photos that represent several of the other more recent projects that the Historical Society, in partnership with their other partners, including the Byway organization, have been working on. As for James Fisk, and maybe some of you recognize the name, but James has been with his Historical Society for many years and has been a member of the Heritage Crossroads Board of Directors for nearly 2 years now, and maybe a little bit more, but he came on board just before COVID. Among his responsibilities is serving as the social media coordinator for both organizations. Based on the digital marketing strategy that's been established for these two organizations, his focus is mainly Facebook and Instagram. While a balanced marketing plan is strategic and should include printing materials like maps and brochures, in today's world, an organization's strategy, marketing strategy must include a digital component to help you reach your intended audience, and a broad audience. There are many reasons to include social media in your organization's marketing plan, but the bottom line is this truly the future? And if nothing else came across in Nancy Duke's presentation, that should. It's becoming a younger generation's world, and we're all in it. And it's good. So here are several of the reasons to use social media in marketing your organization. It allows you to target your audience. It's a very cost-effective way to market what you're selling, your mission. It's easy to track success rates. You can adjust your marketing plan kind of in real time, kind of on the fly, based upon what works and what doesn't. It creates a much richer story, meaning pictures and stories from the road and video that other kinds of tools don't allow. And truly, like I said before, it's the future. So with that said, let's explore ways to supercharge your Facebook page. A successful social media campaign must have 3 components: planning, implementation, and evaluation. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the next couple of slides. First, an organization should develop a plan of action that answers the questions listed here. Why would you use Facebook? What audiences are you trying to reach, and how do you get your audience to react to what you're posting? It's important to know who will lead this effort also. The best laid plans fall apart if there's no effective coordinator, and James certainly
Mike, I think we lost you.
and wouldn't you know it? Okay, am I back? Can you hear me, Karen?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Lastly, how will you track success? Today, it's all about metrics. Donors, potential members, and boards of directors, and even the Florida Scenic Highway Program in their Byway annual report wants to know how successful your campaign is. There's nothing better than being able to tell a potential business donor that your organization's Facebook reach is in the thousands, and that community will know about your business's gracious donation if you're able to make one. Step 2, optimize your Facebook page. And as James outlines here, make sure that you're using a Facebook page for your nonprofit. It's against Facebook guidelines for an organization to use a personal profile. Complete the About section of your page. This is where SEO, search engine optimization, comes into play. And that's a term that I've only learned about recently, but it's very important because both Google and Facebook grab content from your About section. So make sure you've completed all the pertinent fields. Most importantly, your web address, your contact information, and keyword-rich descriptions of what you stand for. Design an engaging cover image. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Your cover image speaks volumes about your organization. Make sure your cover page is relevant and consistent with your nonprofit's style, voice, and brand. Show pictures of volunteers in action, clients receiving services, staff engaging community activities, event photos, and y'all have heard me say this a million times in our meetings, happy faces. Make sure you've got happy faces. Be creative and keep it fresh. Switching your cover image often helps your engagement since images are the most shared and most liked newsfeed items on Facebook and other social media platforms also. So let's look at several nonprofit cover pages next. Clearly, as I said on the previous slide, a picture is worth 1,000 words. These are examples of inspiring nonprofit cover images that get your attention. You can quickly tell what each of these nonprofits stands for. Creating awareness, creating an awesome content, item 3. Example 3, build relationships with your followers. Make sure that you are giving your fans what they want. Don't push or force your agenda on them. James has come up with the 70-20-10 rule. James says he's not sure who originally came up with the idea, but it's something that he follows on his social media accounts, and that those percentages relate to 70% volume content. The majority of your activity on your Facebook site should add value to your community. Add content that's interesting, informative, entertaining, and inspiring. 20% of your time, your posts, should be shared content. Sharing other people's ideas or Facebook posts could even be your own community's comments and content. And lastly, 10% promotional content. This is when you can promote your services, events, donor drives, your blog, or anything that's predominantly promotional in nature. And you've heard it several times, and you hear me talk about it all the time. Pictures, pictures, pictures. In this case, images, images, images. It's important to use images with your posts. Images have always ruled on Facebook, but it's even more important now. Images that are most liked and shared form a post, especially when they tell the story. When posting website links, upload a photo at the same time, and then share it with the link to whatever content you're connecting to. You get almost 20 times more engagement than the thumbnail links generated by Facebook sitting there all by themselves. Put a picture with them, and hopefully happy faces. Keep updates short. Keep your status updates between 80 and 100 characters to get higher engagement. And why is that? Well, we all know when people are out on Facebook, they skim. They don't read detailed discussions, so the shorter the better. And something that we've now started to do, schedule your updates. Facebook offers a scheduling option that allows you to post and then put together a schedule so that items get reposted, or a single post so you don't have to always be out on Facebook. So how often? Post at least once per day, James says. Test your audience and measure what works best. There's no hard and fast rule though. Some feel that maybe 2 to 5 posts a day work better for their audience, but James typically does a post a day. When to post? Mornings, afternoons, weekends. It's really different for every audience, James says. Use Facebook Insights to determine when you get the most engagement from the community that you're trying to reach. Use Facebook's page status scheduling tool. And I alluded to that earlier. You can schedule your post to go out based on a tool and a calendar that Facebook offers. And lastly, it's best to be consistent, responsive, and aware when your community of when your community is most engaged, and play to your audience. Use calls to action to encourage sharing. Your community will engage with you if you ask them to. That's where calls to action, CTAs, are particularly important. You know all about CTAs, calls to action, as part of your marketing plan. When you send out letters, you have a call for action, please donate. So apply that same logic, that same thinking to your Facebook updates. Types of calls to action can be interesting questions that you ask. It can be action images, images with specific call to action, such as asking people to like or comment or share. The tease, as James calls it, something as simple as including an interesting but mysterious image with a link to entice people to click here and learn more. And lastly, the hook. And it's a call to action that answers what's in it for me, and that's most important. If we're going to have people volunteer, they need to know, we need to be able to tell them what's in it for them. Explore ads and promote posts even more, provide even more leverage. Explore ads and promoting posts provide more leverage. I'm sorry. Updates and discussions that we've had to this point are all actions that are essentially free. It's only the time that it takes you to create them. These last 2 discussion topics, though, will also help you supercharge your Facebook, but there is a cost associated with them, a dollars and cents cost. Let's talk about them real quickly. First of all, Facebook ads and promoted posts are some of the easiest, least expensive, and most highly targeted advertising that you can offer on a web. If you're just getting started, it's recommended that you start with Facebook ads to generate page likes. And the other is promotional boost. Once you've mastered the first bullet, you might want to look at promoted posts. Promoted posts is when you pay Facebook a small fee, to essentially show a particular post from your timeline on a more regular basis than what Facebook typically allows. Remember that not all of your updates are seen by all of your fans all the time when they read your news feeds on Facebook. A promoted post essentially supercharges your post to show it to more of your fans and more often. So there you have it. 5 ways that you can inspire some Facebook love. Please go out and try them. The key is to have fun, remember, in doing it, and stay consistent and give your community what they want. By the way, one of the best ways to learn how to use Facebook is to like a lot of other Facebook pages. Particularly go out and like your fellow other byways to see how they're doing things. So let me close very quickly by offering some real world thoughts that we extracted from our discussions with James. He typically spends about an hour a day supporting his organization's social media needs. Recently started a weekly post that looks back at Flagler County history. James says it's his most followed posting each week. All he does is post a historic photo with a small write-up on that resource, and his followers absolutely love it. I know that River of Lakes has done something similar very recently. Several other board members contribute posts on a regular basis, and the most liked include those that include pets and other animals, particularly birds, as Sumter has discovered. Happy, smiling faces make Mike Pelosi happy and are a real favorite also. So make sure to track your likes. Even offers a screen where Facebook even offers a screen where you can compare your results to those of other organizations. And lastly, let me emphasize, please be nice. There's way too much rhetoric in the world. We're Scenic Highways. Keep the politics out of your posts. Call people to action to celebrate your community's resources. We need more glasses half full posts and fewer glasses half empty posts. And so, as James would have said, if you've got any questions, text me, email me, and make sure you go out to the Flagler Historical Society and Heritage Crossroads Heritage Byway, and please like them and follow them on Facebook. If there are any further questions, we can ask them now, or you can certainly email them to James, and he'd be more than happy to help you all out. That's it.
That was fantastic, Mike. I think social media is the new word of mouth. I really do. James' technique is tried and true. When he reports on a monthly basis how many likes and shares he gets, we're talking in the thousands. So if you're looking to boost your numbers on social media and share what you're all about, follow James's strategy. 70-30-10. It's working for him. I suspect it will work for you too. Thanks again, Mike, for stepping in for James, and I hope James's life is good.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So the last presentation is Claudia's top 10. And let me bring it up here. This is not. Okay.
And you don't see mine anymore, right? So I ended mine.
Okay, let me try this again. I think I clicked on the wrong presentation. Okay, this is not. Oh my goodness. My apologies, folks.
If you can't find it, we can probably pull it up for you, Claudia.
Let me know. Do you see it now?
Yeah, but you're at the very end of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, let me just swap so you see the right. Okay, sorry about that. So, welcome to Claudia's Top 10. We've created a top 10 list for each of our virtual sessions, and some are funnier than others, but they're guaranteed to be entertaining and pertinent to the Florida Scenic Byways. And as David Letterman used to do, we're going to work backwards from 10 to 1. Today's top 10 looks at off the beaten path eating experiences. Most on the call will remember Gary Baylog as the District Scenic Highway Coordinator with a passion for his byways. And those that have spent any amount of time around Gary also know that he knew all the good places to eat. Many of the eating establishments on this list were handed down from Gary. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there. So what does eating have to do with the byways? off the beaten path experiences and economic development. That's what it has to do with it. Visitors love to eat where the locals eat, and when visitors eat at local restaurants, they bring tourism dollars with them. Those tourism dollars help to build up the local economy, and we need that now more than ever. Something we can all appreciate today. Lastly, before we proceed, let me thank all of the off the beaten path restaurants along our byways. The last 18 months have been very hard on each of them. Hopefully, as we move forward, they'll all get back to what they do best, serving great food in a relaxed atmosphere along some of the most beautiful scenic and historic scenic byways in Florida. So here we go. Number 10 on the list is Banton Chef in downtown Bunnell is on the Heritage Crossroads Scenic Byway. This outdoor-only dining restaurant has a wide array of menu items like shrimp, scallops, burgers, but their claim to fame is the biggest, and I mean the biggest, fish sandwich that you will ever see. And with a consistent rating of 4.5 out of 5, outstanding reviews, and won't break the bank, you can't go wrong with Banton Chef. And you really have to try it. Those sandwiches are bigger than a baby's head. Marsh Landing, located along the Indian River National Scenic Byway in downtown Fellsmere, is number 9 on our list. I'm not sure how many folks know this on the call today, but the city of Fellsmere is known as the Frog Lake capital of the world. Marsh Landing sits in the heart of the city in a beautifully restored 1926 building, owned and operated by a mother and daughter team and board member of the Scenic Byway. And that would be Susan Adams, who also happens to be a commissioner. Folks come far and wide to be immersed in Florida's rich history, ambience, and Florida cuisine, fresh brewed cold iced tea, swamp cabbage soup, and catfish. Definitely Florida foods. Number 8 on the list is Mary's Country Kitchen along the Green Mountain Scenic Byway, located in Ashtatula, serving homemade food since 2007. Mary's Country Kitchen has won many, many foodie awards. Be sure to experience what the locals already know. Oh, and make sure to save room for dessert. The desserts are on display as soon as you walk in, so you can start planning which cake or pie you're going to eat or at least take home. Number 7, one of the many excellent restaurants along the A1A Historic and Coastal Scenic Byway and the state's newest All-American Road is the Flagler Fish Company, located in Flagler Beach. It's a block off the corner of A1A and State Road 100. Dine in or order from the market counter to cook at home. This place has fresh, locally caught fish. Over the years, the number 6 restaurant on Claudia's top 10 list has been located in several places in downtown Bunnell. Today, it's located on State Road 100 on the Heritage Crossroads Scenic Byway. Fortunately, the Chicken Pantry continues to deliver the best country cooking with its big breakfast and made from scratch chicken and dumplings served at all hours throughout the day. Number 5 on our list is Hull's Seafood, located along the Ormond Scenic Loop and Trail in Ormond Beach. At the age of 14, Jimmy Hull took to the water in his first boat in 1984. He then opened Hull's Seafood Market and Restaurant on State Road 40. The clam chowder, conch fritters, and a variety of fish sandwiches and baskets will keep you going all day long. If you love seafood, you would not be disappointed. Number 4, what top 10 list would be complete without a dessert? Rodeo Whip in downtown DeLand along the River Lakes Heritage Corridor has been serving homemade ice cream to the locals since 1983. Baskin Robbins and Carvel might have the national brand recognition, but Rodeo Whip has the locals' heart. Well, we're on our way to number 1 at this point. At number 3 is the Osteen Diner. Not only does this place serve hometown food with a smile, but they are also a supporter of the River of Lakes Byway and proudly displays the Byway map in their dining room. Here you find regular patrons, families, bikers, and live music every Tuesday and Saturday evening. And that's just on the inside. Outside, you'll find a real-life chicken coop and a variety of farm animals while you wait for your seat, and the kids love it, and the wait is worth it. Number 2 on our countdown is the Farmers Market Restaurant in downtown Webster, nestled inside the Webster's Farmers Market on County Road 471, which was established in 1937. The owners of this restaurant are also proud Byway partners, having recently installed a Scenic Center Heritage Byway informational panel near the restaurant entrance on the front porch next to the rocking chairs. And you can see the panel in the picture there. Their claim to fame is the fabulous country-style Southern fixins and all-you-can-eat buffet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I personally make it a point to stop there every time I'm out in that neighborhood. And what is the theme for today's workshop? Explore. Everyone on this call needs to explore their communities, explore our byways, and most definitely explore some of the best off the beaten path eateries in the Central Florida region. Number 1 on my list of the best eating experiences along our byways is I had to do that, folks. Rosie's Italian Bakery and Cafe in downtown Daytona Beach, and at the heart of our newest designated byway, the Halifax Heritage Byway, is number 1 on Claudia's top 10 list of eateries along the District 5 Scenic Byways. The reviews and pictures on the slide tell it all, in my opinion. The in-house baked bread, the cold cuts, the cannoli, and the hospitality says it all. Check out Rosie's new location on Bay Street with the new market store, freshly made Italian cookies, and so much more. And tell Rosie I sent you. Her deli is number 1 on Claudia's top 10 list. There you have it, folks. The best of the best in byway dining.
I'm hungry.
I know, me too. So what time is it?
10 minutes out.
Okay, so we're not too bad. I wish we had a little more time. So it's getting close and session 2 is complete. I hope you all had a good time and found it informative and enjoyable. But before we close, I do want to open up the microphone and see if anybody has any questions. And Karen, I cannot see anything with my PowerPoint blocking it. So let me know if you get any comments there in the chat box.
I got comments that say great job, and I know where I'm going for lunch and yummy.
I know I'm hungry. I can't wait to go out again and try these foods. I want to thank everybody on the call today. I want to especially thank the speakers that took the time out of their day to present. We covered engagement in session 1 and exploration today. And for session 3, we have scheduled for August 4th at 11 a.m. It will focus on the 3rd E, which is environment, and I hope you will join us for that. Very last thing I want to do is I want to try to present, I don't know, maybe Karen will have to. Karen, can you bring up Elizabeth's reading of The River's Edge? Is that something that you can do?
Yes. Yes, I'll bring that up right now.
Okay, I'm going to click out. Yeah. Stop sharing. Okay, it's all yours, Karen.
Okay. Okay, let me know if y'all can, if y'all don't hear
Hello,
the sound.
welcome to the Florida Scenic Highway Roadside Travelers video series. Today we're joining Elizabeth McNulty's second grade class at Rawlings Elementary in St. Petersburg, Florida, as they read the book At the River's Edge, the story of Heritage Crossroads Scenic Highway.
We're going to read At the River's Edge. You guys ready? Yeah. All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Alana, and I am going to take you with me on my journey through the Heritage Road. I have a feeling both you and I will learn something new. How cute. What kind of animal is that? A raccoon. A raccoon. I love it. Right. I do too. The history here is so vast. Did you know that the first evidence of people living in Florida goes back about 14,000 years? What? Oh my gosh, that is so long ago. I think I saw that before. What does this look like? I don't know. A necklace? Moss? Maybe a moss? A shark tooth? Maybe a shark tooth? Okay. Inhabitants along the St. Johns River even left shell deposits along the river's edge thousands of years ago. It's amazing that they did this because now we have proof that they lived. I'll grab a shell for you and me to remember today. Have you guys seen shells at the beach? Yeah. Little ones, not big ones like that? No. I found a big one. Did you? Okay. Let's keep reading. Ready? Let's pass through somewhere else and learn some more. Look, this is the old brick road. It was a super highway back in its day. This road is packed with shells and was even placed by hand. This must have taken a long time to build, huh? Yeah. This road used to be part of the old Dixie Highway, which reached all the way up to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. That's really far. And down to Miami Beach, Florida. Has anybody ever been to Miami? No. Yeah. But you can show them. I can. That's quite a distance. Let's keep moving, shall we? Careful. Here at the Espanola Cemetery, there are headstones dating back to the 1870s belonging to various founding fathers. Isn't that cool? Here lies one of our founding fathers, Isaac Moody Jr. He was the first state representative of Flagler County. We are looking at a legend. He's a legend. He's a legend. He must be famous. He must be famous. Okay, let's keep reading. Let's keep going and see where we end up next. Oh, look, it's a little red schoolhouse. Even though it's named the Little Red Schoolhouse, this was not a school. It was actually an agricultural building for the FFA, which stands for Future Farmers of America. That was built all the way back in 1938 with the help of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Did you know he was our 32nd president? Yep, and he helped build it. Yeah. I can't wait to show you my favorite spot on the Heritage Crossroads, the old Moody Homestead. This place is filled with oak trees, almost 500 years old. Oh, that's old. Is that old as me? No. Thank goodness. Okay. Good. I love to spend my time here admiring the beautiful scenery. The site holds history of the pioneers who settled in Flagler County, and we work to preserve it for them. The table smells like chocolate. Does it? As we keep making our way along the Heritage Crossroads, we are nearing one of the most historical sites, the Bulow Plantation Ruins. This place is a ruin because it was sadly destroyed in the Seminole War of 1835. Luckily, we can still admire the history these ruins hold. Slaves used to work on this plantation, making sure that cotton, sugarcane, rice, and indigo could be grown so it could be shipped up north. The history here is interesting to think about. What are slaves? What are slaves? Keep that question. Okay, we'll come back and talk about that. As we make our way to the Agricultural Museum, we'll have to travel on Old Kings Road. I'm sure you've made it onto this road many times, but do you know what it used to be? Go ahead and guess. Any guesses? A house? Maybe a house? A park?
Probably, it used to be a water park.
A water park.
And it broke down, so they had to.
Maybe.
Maybe it's a cool, pretty forest.
Maybe. Let's find out.
Probably there's so many flowers there. One big house, like a building.
This road was very important to soldiers fighting in a few different wars. In the Civil War, soldiers who were hungry got their food from the cattle that traveled along this road. Settlers rode on Old Kings Road in their stagecoaches, station wagons, and horse carriages. Who would have thought, right? We don't ride horses down our road.
Yeah, we ride. No, I ride
cars. That's
I
driving cars.
I always wanted to be a shoulder, but my dad didn't. So I'm going to be police.
All right, ready? Here we go. Last couple pages. We're at our final destination. The Florida Agriculture Museum is home to many historic buildings, some of which were used by the early pioneers. It's cool to think about how much Flagler County has been able to change. When settlers first arrived in Florida, they started farming corn, beans, squash, and sunflowers. They soon started farming citrus, and it was working very well in the Florida climate. Did you know that oranges are Florida's state fruit? In the 1930s, they built 5 buildings that would serve as citrus operations and a dairy barn. There's just so much to learn about the Agriculture Museum. It's pretty picture, huh? That wraps up our adventures on the Heritage Crossroads. There's still so much to learn. So be sure to visit these places again and see what other history lies here in our hometown. Okay, quietly, can somebody raise their hand? What text feature do we see on this last page, Zoe? A map. The map! Awesome! And this map shows the Heritage Crossroads. Isn't that awesome? And all the amazing things that you can find along the way.
Actually, what is a slave?
Well, a slave, they used to work a long, long time ago, and they would do lots of work for other people. Yep. And that's it.
What's the legend about that famous grandfather?
Well, I think maybe we need to Google him and learn more about him, right?
Google.
Yeah.
Mr. Isaac.
Google him. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. McNulty. Karen, I think you can wrap it up now. Karen or Claudia can close. There we go. Thank you. All yours, Claudia.
That was perfect timing. And that was Elizabeth McNulty presenting to her 2nd grade class in St. Pete. The River's Edge, which was put together by Dr. Nancy Duke students in the service learning program. So successful. Last thing I want to remind everybody is we're going to be sending out a survey. If you could take a moment to put your thoughts on the survey and answer the questions so that we can make this even better for you next time. The survey link Karen just put into the chat box, and we will also follow up and send it to you in an email. I thank each and every one of you for staying with us today and engaging. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.